I always believed my future was safe. Not guaranteed, nothing in life ever is, but protected. Because my mom had made sure of it, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. A year, I repeated. My voice sounded distant, like it didn't belong to me. The manager nodded. Yes, there have been multiple withdrawals over time. That's not possible, I whispered. He told me it was just one for my brother. The manager hesitated, then said carefully, I think there's more going on than what you've been told. The pattern. He scrolled through the transactions slowly. Each one felt like a punch. $5,000. $8,000. $12,000. Different dates, different amounts. All gone. This doesn't look like a one-time emergency, he explained. It looks ongoing. My hands clenched. So where did it go? He turned the screen slightly. Some payments were made to legal services, he said, but not all. Not all. That phrase stuck in my head. Then where's the rest? I asked. The name I didn't expect. He clicked into another record. And that's when I saw it. A name. Not a law firm. Not anything official. Just a person. My heart skipped. That account, the manager said, has received several transfers. Who is it? I asked, already feeling like I knew the answer. He looked at me carefully. Ryan Carter. The truth hits harder. My brother. Not just once. Not just for help. He had been taking money directly. Again and again. For a year. I leaned back in the chair, trying to breathe. So he wasn't just in trouble, I said slowly. No, the manager replied. This looks like repeated withdrawals for personal use. The bigger question. But how? I asked. That account requires my authorization. The manager's expression shifted again. Careful. Serious. Normally, yes. My chest tightened. But in this case, there was a secondary access added. I froze. What? He clicked another tab. And showed me. The real betrayal. Authorized user, David Carter. My father. Date added, 11 months ago. I stared at it. Unable to process. He added himself, I whispered. The manager nodded. Yes, with that access he could legally withdraw funds. Legally. That word made it worse. Because it meant. He planned this. Everything falls into place. The late-night phone calls. The vague explanations. The way he always changed the subject when I mentioned the fund. It wasn't a sudden decision. It was a long-term betrayal. The anger finally comes. I stood up, packing the small office. He told me it was one time, I said. He said it was to keep Ryan out of jail. The manager didn't interrupt. Didn't defend him. Because there was nothing to defend. The question that changed everything. Can I do anything? I asked. And I didn't just mean emotionally. I meant legally. Practically. Seriously. The manager looked at me for a moment. Then said, yes. The first step of revenge. Since the account is legally yours, he explained, you have the right to remove his access immediately. My mind sharpened. Focus replacing shock. Do it. He nodded. Typed quickly. It's done. Just like that. My dad lost access. But that wasn't enough. And the money? I asked. He leaned back slightly. That depends on how far you want to take this. I didn't hesitate. All the way. The legal path. You can file a formal dispute, he said, and potentially take legal action for misuse of funds, especially if it can be proven the money wasn't used for what you were told. I thought about my dad's words. I used it to save your brother. A lie. Or at least not the full truth. The plan forms. For the first time since yesterday, I felt in control. "Can I get copies of everything?" I asked. "All transaction records, authorization forms, everything." The manager nodded. "I'll prepare a full report for you." Walking out different. When I left the bank, I wasn't the same person who walked in. Before, I was confused, hurt, betrayed. Now, I had clarity, proof, and a choice. Why I stayed silent again. I didn't go home and confront them immediately. That would have been easy. Emotional. Messy. No. This time, I wanted more than answers. I wanted accountability. The setup. That night, I sat in my room, going through every document the bank gave me. Every transfer. Every signature. Every date. And one thing became very clear. This wasn't just about my brother anymore. This was about my father. The realization. He didn't just allow it. He enabled it. Covered for it. And lied about it. To me. Before she passed away, she set up a separate education fund for me. A savings account that only grew over the years, carefully built so I could go to medical school one day. It wasn't just money. It was her last promise to me. And my dad. He promised to protect it. The day everything broke. "Sit down, we need to talk." My dad's voice was serious, but not unusual. He used that tone whenever he wanted to sound like he was making a family decision. I walked into the living room and saw my brother, Ryan, already there. Leaning back, relaxed. Like this had nothing to do with him. That should have been my first warning. "What's going on?" I asked. My dad sighed, rubbing his forehead like he was carrying the weight of the world. "Your brother made a mistake." I almost laughed. Ryan didn't make mistakes. He made disasters. "What kind of mistake?" I asked carefully. No one answered immediately. Then my dad said it. "He's in serious trouble, legal trouble." The favoritism I tried to ignore. Ryan had always been different. Where I studied, he partied. Where I planned, he acted. Where I followed rules, he broke them. And somehow, he was always forgiven. Always protected. Always the priority. The decision I wasn't part of. "We handled it," my dad continued. "It's taken care of." Something about the way he said it made my stomach drop. "How?" I asked. Silence. Then, "I used your education fund." The room went completely still. The moment I stopped breathing. "You what?" "I didn't have a choice," he said quickly. "He could have gone to jail." And that's my problem. My voice cracked despite my effort to stay calm. "He's your brother." There it was. The sentence that explained everything. Family comes first. "You can earn that money back," my dad added, "but he needed help now." I stared at him. At the man who promised my mom he would protect that money. "You took my future," I said quietly. "I saved your family," he replied. "No." He saved him. Ryan's reaction. I looked at Ryan. Waiting. Hopping, maybe, for some kind of guilt. Some kind of apology. But he just shrugged. "I'll pay it back someday," he said. Casually. Like we were talking about lunch money. Why I didn't scream. I wanted to yell. To break something. To demand answers. But I didn't. Because deep down, I knew something was off. The numbers didn't make sense. Ryan's mistakes had cost money before, but never that much. Not enough to drain everything. The next morning, I couldn't sleep that night. My mom's voice kept echoing in my head. "This is for your future, no matter what happens." Something wasn't right. So the next morning, I went to the bank. The bank visit. The building was quiet. Cold. Professional. The kind of place where everything is supposed to make sense. I walked up to the counter. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I want to check my education account." The teller smiled politely. "Of course." She typed for a few seconds, then paused. Her expression changed. "Just a moment," she said. "I'm going to call the manager." The first red flag. That was strange. "Is something wrong?" I asked. She forced a smile. "He'll explain everything." My heartbeat started to rise. Slowly. Steadily. Something was definitely wrong. The manager. A few minutes later, a man in a suit approached me. "Emma," he asked. "Yes." "Can you come with me, please?" His tone wasn't casual. It was serious. "Careful. You need to see this." We walked into a small office. He closed the door behind us, then sat down across from me. "Before I show you this," he said, "I need to ask, did you authorize any recent withdrawals?" "No," I said immediately. "Not even through your father?" "No." He nodded slowly, like he expected that answer. Then he turned his screen toward me and said the words that changed everything. "You need to see this." What I saw. My account history. But it didn't look like what my dad described. Not at all. Multiple withdrawals. Large ones. But not one single transaction. Not one emergency payment. This wasn't a one-time situation. This was repeated, planned, hidden. The truth begins to show. "This account," the manager said carefully, "has been accessed several times over the past year." My heart dropped. "A year?" He nodded. "And based on the pattern, this doesn't appear to be for a single legal issue." I couldn't speak, because in that moment, everything started to connect.